The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Everett, Washington Fire Department, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32110. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper. On the right and left sides of the front bumper, you'll find an emergency warning light. Moving around to the face of the front bumper, you'll find passenger side and driver side dual air horns. Moving just inward toward the center, you'll find two closed attachment points, tow hooks, and directly in the center, you'll find your mechanical siren recessed. Moving to the driver's side is where you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. And then moving up onto the top of the bumper, this is where you're going to find your swivel 1.5" discharge. Let's move up onto the body of the apparatus. First, you'll find right and left turn indicators, forward facing. As we move further up onto the body, you'll find on the outer edges turn marker indicators, and then just on the inside of that location is find your headlight cluster. High beam will be on the inside and low beam on the outside. Up from that, the cluster of emergency warning lights. And then moving further all the way up to the top on the passenger and driver side, you have two grab handles. Here's some close-ups of some of those things we just talked about. Let's go ahead and move back to the front of the apparatus. We'll take a look at the top. You have 5 brow running lights. Moving to the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight, and then you'll also find a full-width light bar. Located on the very top of that light bar, you'll find go lights for the passenger and driver controls. Here's a side image of your side-facing camera. There is one on the passenger and driver side. Down in the stepwell of the operator, you'll find your air inlet chuck. You'll also find controls for the air shutoff and also an air outlet. To the right, you'll find your shore inlet. This is a 20 amp shore inlet. Let's move further to the side. This is going to be a 110 outlet. This is 20 amp. There are 2 of these located on the right and left side of the compartment, in addition with a 12 volt access point. When shore power is plugged in, these will be activated. Once again at the top, this is your 12 volt access point, bus bar. We're now at the driver's side pump panel. You first find this warning label regarding entanglement because of those hoses coming off when they're deployed. You'll also find your Husky 12 foam system specifications and also instruction placard. At the very top in the gray area, you'll find your master discharge and master intake. You'll also find in between the 2 of those in the gray area your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Moving down, you'll find your module throttle governor. And then moving further to the right, you'll find this small black audible speaker. It does have volume control by simply dampening, twist left or right. To the right, you'll find your TFT monitor operation station. This is for your master stream on top of the apparatus. We'll move down from that location in just a moment. But first, these 2 latches, once released, will gain access behind the panel. Behind the panel is where you'll find this fan motor. This will provide airflow throughout all of your compartments. Let's talk now about the pump panel. First, starting on the left, this is your foam level in red, A, tank. Then this is in blue, your water tank level for the tank on your apparatus. Moving from left to right, you'll find your front bumper, crosslay 1, crosslay 2, the hose reel, your left rear pre-connect, and also the right blitz water. These are all foam compatible except for the hose reel. Let's move further to the right. You'll find at the very top, this is your control module to plug in your headset. Moving further down, you'll find your primer for the fire pump. There are also special instructions underneath that, and please refer to the owner's manual. To the very far right, you'll find a warning label regarding riding on the side of the apparatus or fall. And then moving back down to the very bottom, underneath all of the valves, you'll find your foam system control for your Husky 12. Moving to the right, you're going to find 2 dials. These are going to be turns, not pull.
One is your engine cooler and the other is your recirculating line. Further to the right, you'll find a warning label regarding pressurized caps and associated hazards while removing them. We'll talk a little bit about this switch section. I've got a little bit more of a close-up and I think it'll be a little easier. Just beneath that, you'll find your tank fill. Let's move all the way back over to the left side of the pump panel and let's talk about this placard. This is your Pierce maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. There are two electronic controlled valves here. First, you'll see in orange and also in green your large diameter discharge. As we move further to the right, you'll find the 2.5 inch number 1 driver's side discharge. And then moving all the way to the far right, you're going to find the number 3 driver's side discharge 2.5. Let's move down to the left side. I've got another image closer of these images, or close up of this area to make it a little bit easier. We'll move to the right. You'll find in the center the auxiliary 2.5 inch inlet, and then in the center the Pierce American flag Eagle. That is going to be the large diameter intake. Moving to the right, your pump drain. Further to the right, your tank to pump. Just underneath that, you're going to find a couple of drains. This is a flush valve, and then further to the right is where you're going to find a warning sticker regarding not mixing different types of foam batches. We'll also talk what's behind the pan door here in the next set of images, but this is where you would attach to fill, drain, or also utilize your foam system. I would like to remind you that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and review the owner's manual. Down at the very bottom, you're going to find a few drains here. This is first going to be your foam tank drain and also your foam pump drain. Let's take a look at those switches once again. You have your panel light and pump engaged. Pump engaged is going to be an indicator light that will light if your pump is properly in gear. Down below in red, your air horn. Back up to the top, you'll find your hose reel, driver side flood, passenger side flood, and also your deck lights. Once again, this is that pan door. This is the foam fill location. This is going to be if your handle is horizontal, it's for operation. To move it into the fill location, you'll move it to the vertical position, then restore it back to its original position for use. Let's take a look once again at this placard. This is the test pressures here for 150, 200, 250 psi. This is your maintenance schedule. You can see on the left-hand side it has job number, that also has the GPMs in white, and then on the far right-hand side it has your RPMs. Here's those images on the other side that we talked about: rinse, hose reel, and then drains. And then as we move all the way up to the top of the apparatus for your hose reel, this is the tensioning adjustment for when you pull the hose out. And then you also have a manual reel rewind at the very top, which requires the hose key. Down at the lower right hand corner in the dunnage area, you'll find your hydraulic fluid, and then you'll also find your TFT nozzle. This is the control module on the very back side. Here's a close-up of that hydraulic oil and the fill cap associated with that. There's also a sight gauge on the front of it. On the front of the apparatus, I would like to remind you not to walk in this area. It's very slippery. That's why these are warning labels here. As we look at the dunnage area for your foam tank fill for A, there's a warning sign regarding a mixing of different types of foam. This is your top fill location for your water tank. As we move to the back of the apparatus, you'll find your 24-foot extension ladder and also your 14-foot roof, 10-foot attic, and also long pike poles. Top of the apparatus is fully covered. I would like to remind you that there is safety diamond tape around the outside edge that's reflective. You can see it in this next image here. This is to assist in firefighter safety. Let's move back to the dunnage area for just a quick look. And now we'll move back to the outside of the apparatus. We'll start with your compartments. First, starting on the driver's side, let's take a look inside this compartment is where you'll find your shoreline outlet. This is an outlet plug which is powering the Koosmall battery charging system. When you're plugged into shore power, this will activate. On the very bottom, this is the timer for your fan system for compartment air movement. On the outside, in front and rear of the rear tire, you'll find bottle storage location with safety straps. As we move to the rear of this side, you'll find a silver cap for your fuel, and then at the top, a blue cap. This is a 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. That's the blue indicator. As we move to the center compartment, you will find adjustable shelf, that air movement system, and also LED lighting. Let's move to the rear or last compartment on this side. You will find a pull-out shelf. The mechanism to release is in the lower right-hand corner. Underneath the apparatus, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the apparatus and the rear. Let's focus now on the rear section of your apparatus. First, let's start with the obvious: brake, turn, reverse, and emergency light cluster down in the lower left and right corners. As we move up, there are some warning and hazard labels here. One, riding on the side of the apparatus is not advisable. Pressurized caps is another one. Please seek the information in your owner's manual. In the upper left, you'll find emergency warning lights. Directly in the center, under the bottom of the hose bed, is where you'll find your reverse camera. As we move to the very top, you'll find two rear scene lights, which are LED. And then just underneath in the hose bed area is where you'll find long tool storage or board storage on the right and left side of your hose bed cover. Down at the bottom, you'll find the rear discharge, and then you'll also find an additional rear discharge here, or blitz line discharge. Here's some close-ups of those images. Here's the rear compartment. You can see a fixed shelf on the top, which is adjustable, and also on the bottom a pull-out style shelf. Here's those warning labels that we talked about, and also your reverse camera. Let's take a look at the hose bed. There is a divided hose bed. It also has steps with inside once the hose bed is in the open position. This is the rear deck lights switch. It's a cup switch on the driver's side of your vehicle. Left rear pre-connect. This is water and foam capable. And as we look, this is your right rear blitz. It is also water foam capable. You have two compartments on both the left and right side up high on the body. We'll now move to the side of the apparatus. This is the compartment in the rear. Once again, two adjustable shelves, SCBA holders, and also a pull-out shelf. In the center, you'll find a tool board. There is an access on the right side. There is also a latch on the left side. Once it is open and locked into position, to restore it, simply release the latch. Once again, front and rear of the apparatus, behind the rear tire, you're going to find bottle storage locations with straps. Let's go ahead and move midship of the apparatus. We'll talk about some of those items. At the front of the rear tires where your exhaust is, there is a placard here regarding warning, extremely hot exhaust, and be cautious as to where you park. Let's go now to midship location. We'll talk a little bit about this compartment. It's an access compartment. And then we'll talk about two electronic valves. You have the orange 2.5 inch passenger side electronic valve, Acron. And then you also have your large diameter discharge, which is electronic Acron valve. In the center, you'll find your powered equipment rack for raise and lower, and there is also a on-off, which unlocks the ladder rack. Down at the very bottom, you'll find your large diameter intake with the Pierce American flag logo, and then you'll find your 2.5 inch auxiliary inlet. Moving back up to the top, this is going to be for your cab lift, specific instructions here, and there's also a lock light indicating that the cab is locked. Please ensure that all your items are secure inside the cab prior to operation. There's also that warning regarding pressurized hose caps. The two switches were hose reel and passenger side floodlights. Inside that compartment is where you're going to find the refill location for your hydraulic rack. It's the hydraulic rack reservoir. We'll go through a few close-up images of those things that we just talked about. One, powered equipment rack. This is the on-off switch and also an up-down lift mechanism. You're also going to find in the cab lift the cab not locked indicator. This indicates in red if it's not locked. These are the associated drains on the pump panel, clearly marked and also color-coded. As we look down, you'll find your water strainer drain. This is a twist, not a pull. And then as we move up, just above this section is where you'll find your pre-connects and also all of your hose storage locations for crosslays. Back up into that same compartment in the other side, identical. You have power in that side for 12-volt access. As we look at the rear of the apparatus, you can see those two internal compartments. Above those, you'll find two additional storage locations and also your AC unit. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rear compartment. In between those two seats, they are fold-down seats in the very rear. There is a compartment with a compartment light and netting. The rear seat has David Clark head systems located, and the head system is in the very center. There's a system volume and also on-off switch. Moving to the center between the two apparatus seats in the rear, you'll find your access point for daily checks for oil and transmission. General view looking from the rear forward. Let's go ahead and take a look at the passenger side here. I want to point out at all points of entry for personnel, you'll find these warning labels regarding the use of seat belts and other warning. You'll also find on this side, captain seat. This is equipped with an SRS, which is a supplemental restraint system. Do not block this area. This is for your protection. There's also warning labels regarding that, and that you should seek information in your owner's manual. Let's go and look down in the right corner. This is the fill location for your windshield wipers. As we look at the dash area, you'll find on the far right-hand side near the hinge of the door is the parking brake. You'll also find on the left-hand side your radio push-to-talk. You have two 12-volt access styles, first USB, and then underneath that you'll find a barrel-style 12-volt access. Let's go ahead and take a look. In the center of the apparatus, you'll find your go light control on-off switches and also the remote control for that. As we look just underneath the officer seat, you'll find access, and you'll also see the candy cane label indicating that there's wiring behind that. Once again, we're down to the driver's section. You will find, once again, point of entry. You'll find those warning labels. You'll also find some exhaust information here and also the yellow placard, which I will talk about in the next few minutes. There is also seatbelt information here. The belts are red in color for a specific reason, for easy identifiable for the operator. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is your Q-Small charging system. When plugged into shore power, this will activate, indicating that the batteries are charging. You'll also find on floor level a mechanical siren foot pedal near the brake treadle and accelerator. Let's move up to about knee height. You'll find your battery switch on-off. This is your master switch. You'll also find a tech module, engine transmission ABS diagnostic part in green, and then you'll find your ABS, DPF regen, and also regen inhibit. This is the yellow placard here for manufactured by the city of Everett. It has the manufacture date June 2018, job number. It also has the VIN number, gross vehicle weight rating, and at the lower section it has all of your fluid capacities, the amount and types and location. Moving up to the top, you'll find your Q2B disconnect. It's an on-off protected switch you can see here. As we move to the right knee of the operator, you'll find your pump information from road to pump or from pump to road. There are two green indicators here. When illuminated, pump engaged and OK to pump. This is a 3-position pump switch, the center being the neutral position, engaged or disengaged. On the right, you're going to find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. And then as we look to the left side of the dash, you'll find your ignition and start, your emergency master, your headlights and parking lights, and also your panel rocker switch for dim and brighten. On the panel, you're going to find your transmission oil, DEF level, and water, and also your tachometer. On the right-hand side, you're going to find your volts, fuel, front air, and rear air, and your speedometer. Above and below, you'll find diagnostic information. General view here of the inside of the cab for the dash for the operator. Let's start first on the left-hand side with the engine brake on-off. You also have a setting for high, medium, and low, front wheel lock, and mirror heat. There are two future switch locations if need be. As we move down, you'll find a radio push-to-talk. Down below, you'll find your windshield wiper control. It is a dial, which means you'll increase or decrease the amount of speed, and a push for the actual deployment of fluid onto the windshield wiper area. Let's move forward of that location into the center. You'll find your climate control for heat and defrost, heat and also AC. Just beneath that, you'll find 12-volt access. This is USB style on the right and then barrel style on the left. Also for the operator, you'll find your go light control. Let's move overhead of the operator. First, you'll find this placard, which is your height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. And at the very bottom, it does have your job number. Remember that this is coming off the factory and this is no revisions to your apparatus. If you make any changes, please update this placard. Let's move just to the right of this information and take a general view of this area. First, let's start on the left-hand side, and we'll start with your emergency master, Opticom, a future switch location, air horn, load manager, and siren brake. And then we'll move all the way to the other side where you'll find driver side flood, front flood, deck lights, passenger side flood, side scene lower, and your perimeter lights. Just as a reminder, when they are in the active motion and they're on, the green light will illuminate. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your traffic advisor. And then let's move just to the center of the cab. You'll find this red puck style light. If this is lit, it's indicating not to move the apparatus. You have an open compartment door or a person door open. You also have push on and off red and white lights, and then also 2 pull chains for your air horns. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your electronic siren and PA speaker control. And then moving on to the passenger side, you're going to find the driver side flood, front flood, your deck lights, passenger side flood, perimeter lights, and then also a siren brake. Down on the passenger side, you'll also find a foot pedal for your mechanical siren. And then let's move back up to the side. Once again, fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Congratulations, Everett, Washington Fire Department, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32110. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or any future questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.